Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Talking Grit is brought to you by the Monroe County Reporters, Monroe's top news source for police, fire, and community events.
Post 3 at Depot Street. Truck boy at request.
Follow them on Facebook, and for $2.99 a month, you can become a subscriber and get the news you crave even faster.
Good day, everybody, and welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. I'm Jason Harwood, and with me is Jacob Litton. I just got back from vacation, Jacob, so you could take advantage of my lag here. I'll be tired, and you'll just walk all over me.
That's an every week occurrence now.
Yeah, it'll be a blowout this time.
You can blame it on the vacation, but that's okay.
Yeah, I come with pre-built-in excuses now, so that's why I said that right away.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep. First 10 seconds, get that out of the way.
One thing that did not happen on my vacation is my air did not go out on my vacation.
We're riding bikes around, so it didn't matter.
I was riding bikes around the island, man. It was great. Yeah, I had air conditioning. It was cold on the island. It was like 65 degrees when we first got to the island. So
right?
A little cold, but
Great weather for you.
Yeah, it's perfect weather for me, man. I like the cold weather, so I can wear my shawl or whatever we talked about before. We talked last week about the devastating losses. We're not going to be depressing this week. We're going to talk about some other Lions news or Lions information this week. Rest assured, you don't have to walk away from this podcast depressed like last week. Have you recovered from last week yet?
Yes, I'm fine now.
Okay, good.
It's easier getting over it, talking over it a second time.
Yeah.
It took a couple weeks as the games were happening and reliving it, but...
Yeah, I had to edit it, so I kept having to listen to it over and over again, and I was like, I got immune after a while, and I'm like, okay.
And just numb.
And then on the way to the vacation, the boys, let's listen to the new episode. I'm like, okay, we can listen to it. So I listened to it again on the way up, and it is so much fun having them like argue with the radio me instead of just like me in the seat. They're just like yelling at, no, that's not right, or oh, I hate that, or whatever. It's funny.
So even your kids know how bad your takes are.
No, it's
sometimes.
not. A lot of it's you, and they're like, what is Jacob thinking?
I don't believe
No,
that.
you're probably right. So it's mostly me. They're used to yelling at me all day, and they might as well yell at Radio Jason as well.
Yeah.
What we're going to start out first here with is PFF came out with some grades on players and on certain position groups, and I thought we'd hit on a few of them that are interesting for the Lions. You want to start us off here, Jacob?
Yeah. We're going to start off with the best one, the highest ranked one for us anyway. Pro Football Focus does rankings. For those of you who don't know, I'm sure everyone does. They rank every single player individually on all kinds of different aspects of the game. What these rankings are, they took some of last year's rankings, but also put it in with their projections, and they ranked a lot of the positional groups. So the first one we're going to talk about, we actually ranked number 1 in the NFL, and that's going to be our offensive line. I was not surprised to see our name at the top of the list. I thought this was well-deserved. What did you think, Jason, before the list came out?
When this list came out, if we weren't number 1, I would have said some things. It would have been a
Right.
shock. I would have had to read their full article as to why we would not be number 1, because this just seems like a no-brainer to me.
For sure. You separate our line. This is their Pro Football Focus rankings. Decker is rated 81, which was 9th in the league. This is for tackles. Sewell was 92, which was actually 1st in the league, and the top lineman overall. Then you have Glasgow was ranked 74, which is 8th. Zeitler was 71, which is 15th. And then Frank Ragnow, 88, which was 1st. So you've got 1st, 8, 9, 15. And that's a killer offensive line.
Yeah. Ed, did you happen to look up Jonah Jackson's rating?
I did not. What is he?
He is 34th guard, so he is the number
Okay,
34th.
well,
So if you're worried about
upgrade.
us losing Jonah and us moving things around, it's actually for 1 year, it'll probably be an upgrade. So with Zeitler, I was just curious as to where Jonah fit in that, just because he's been a big part of
I
our
understand.
offensive line. Now 34 is based on last year's rating. He was injured a little bit, and to be honest, last year was not, in my opinion, his best year. So he may play above that this year, so it may not be a one-to-one comparison. It's nice to be number 1 on the list, and it's nice to replace number 34 with number 15 positional rank. So I love that.
Upgrade.
Yep.
Just a real quick go through a couple of the other top 5. So they had the Eagles ranked number 2. I feel like that's a fair spot for them. They obviously have to replace Jason Kelsey, but I think that's fair. Colts were number 3. And the Colts, I read who the offensive linemen were on the Colts. I knew about Ryan Kelly. He's the center. Both of their tackles were in the top 7 in the league. And the names were not familiar to me. Do you know who their tackles are?
No, I don't. No, I didn't look this up.
Their names are Bernard Raymond and Braden Smith. For both being top 7 tackles, man, I have not heard much about these guys.
Yeah.
The Colts actually have all 5 of their linemen last year returning this year, and they were all rated high, and that's...
Yeah, well, we're going to see them this year. We play them, so better be ready.
Close and personal.
Yep.
They had the Browns number 4. They had injuries and stuff last year, but based on Pro Football Focus projection, they think they're going to be a top unit. The most interesting one, I only went through the top 5, but the most interesting one has got to be number 5 because they put the Jets at number 5. And the Jets' offensive line was terrible last year. They might have been the bottom. If they weren't the bottom, they were bottom 3 last year. Now, they got Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses. They've added some pieces, but to put them all the way up at top 5 just based on what you hope they're going to be seems crazy.
Yeah, PFF seems to be really on the Jets' boat this year just based on where they're projecting.
Right, and that's going to come up again soon here in this talk, but, I definitely feel like before the list even came out, I felt like we had the best offensive line in the league. When the Eagles had Jason Kelsey, we're like neck and neck. We're both up there. And now that Kelsey's gone, I feel like we definitely are at the top of that.
It's interesting. Some of these are Quinn's leftovers. And that just seems where Quinn was really good at drafting was offensive line. Not anywhere else, but basically offensive line. So it's nice that we're going to be able to keep Panay, sign him to the extension. Taylor Decker is going to be up soon. Frank's still signed. And then Graham signed the 3 years. We got Zeitler for 1, but we've spent some draft capital this year on some offensive linemen. So we're hoping that someone can step in if we don't re-sign Zeitler at the end of the year. And you love them building the trenches. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of the trenches, what was the next one?
Oh, the next one is the defensive line. And this one I was shocked to see them rated this high. They rated at number 4. Were you surprised by that, or was that something you expected?
I actually was. Like, when I saw that number, Lions ranked number 4, right away, first instinct is that they're high on the Lions Kool-Aid. We're finally getting some respect. They like what the Lions are doing, so they're putting us up there. Once you start breaking it down, the teams that are around us and above us and everything, I can see us being number 4.
Their run defense last year was stellar. I'm not sure what the ranking was, but it was number 1 for most of the year, and it might have ended there. Then they added DJ Reader, so if Reader comes in healthy, he's going to just make that even more stout. From just as a casual watcher, it just felt like we weren't getting enough pressure or we weren't containing enough. It was either we were just over pursuing and then breaking contain, or we just weren't getting enough pressure. They were having to send the blitz and everything like that. So I guess from the perspective of rank 4, I was surprised by that, just seeing the number. But they got DJ Reader ranked number 13. PFF has always been high, but they're really high on Aleem McNeil. They got him ranked 15. They have Aiden ranked as the 6th in the edge rusher category. And then it's surprising they have Marcus Davenport number 32 ranked in their projections this upcoming year. So
interesting. I didn't see that about Davenport.
They have what you had mentioned earlier where they take last year's grades and then they project or whatever. Davenport, right. He wasn't ranked 32 last year, but that's where they project him this year.
That's where they're hoping.
That would be amazing if that happens, because you figure there's 64 starting, so you're in the top half there with there being number 32, and then you have Aiden obviously way up at number 6. So I'd love to see this work out and us be number 4, because the number 1 offensive line, number 4 defensive line, we're right in the trenches, man. We'll dominate the trenches.
Yeah, you're set up for success if you can have both of those units ranked in the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the other teams that are ranked, so real quick, Aiden was rated 91 last year, Aleem 88, DJ Reader 82. So those are all solid numbers, and then that kind of gives you an idea of why they ranked them number 4. Number 1 defensive line they ranked was the Jets. They had Quinnen Williams, who's a monster,
mm-hmm.
and I believe he was rated 90. But then they added Hassan Reddick. They have Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson. It's not a bad defensive line.
Jets have a very solid defensive line.
I can get on board with the Jets' defensive line being ranked high. Not so much the offensive line, the defensive line, yes. Then number 2, they have the 49ers, which is, okay, Nick Bosa for sure. They've got Hargrave. But if you're talking this year based on their projections, they lost Eric Armstead.
Yep.
So everyone outside of Bosa, I think even Hargrave wasn't rated very high. So outside of Bosa, who was rated like 93, they don't have anybody that's rated higher than like 70. And they put them number 2.
Yeah.
So when you're matching them up against the Lions, you're like, how does that really make sense?
Yeah.
Which, of course, this is just Pro Football Focus projections. These are their numbers that I'm using. I don't know how they're going off of that. They have the Eagles at number 3, which are the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Defensive line,
Georgia
basically.
Bulldogs North.
Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith.
They were very
Which
high.
are all great players.
They were very high on Jalen Carter. They had him like projected 9th best inside defensive lineman coming into this year based on their projections. We'll see. He started out last year on fire, Jalen Carter, but then he tailed off, which sometimes happens as a rookie. But based on his concerns coming into the draft, I'd be watching with caution for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Great point. Rounding out the top 5 for the defensive line is the Browns. They've got Myles Garrett. He's the highest ranked defensive lineman in football. Zadarius Smith. They added Zadarius Smith last year, and Myles Garrett even took off higher than he was before. He took some of that pressure off him. So then that's what you're hoping happens this year. You added DJ Reader for us. You're hoping that Aiden and Aleem take that leap. They get some of the pressure off of them, and you just help them blow up even more.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting because the Browns are in the top 5 on both. The Jets are in the top 5 on both. San Francisco's not. There's teams that want to build through the trenches. There's other teams that build outside in, but I'm more of a inside out type guy. I think that just sets you up for success. Just consistent success. You're going to have games where your superstars on the outside are going to take over no matter what you guys in the trenches do, but for consistent success and beating all sorts of different type of teams, I'd rather build through the trenches, especially during playoff time.
So the next one, the last positional group that we have is the receivers. I know you didn't see the receiver list, right? Or did you?
No, I did check this out before, and this is a last minute addition.
This is fun. Where do you think we would have ranked on the list of the positional group for receivers?
I know they're super high on Amon-Ra. The rest of it's a question mark. I'm going to go 12.
We were 7th.
7th. Wow. Okay.
7th.
They mentioned Khalif Raymond in there.
Yeah.
Okay. They are super high on Khalif Raymond.
Yeah. Amon-Ra was the number 4 overall receiver, but J-Mo was actually ranked 77th. This is out of 128 receivers.
Okay.
So Amon-Ra was 4, J-Mo was 77, but Khalif Raymond was 32nd. And a lot of that's because of the routes that he wins and also what he does with his receptions versus targets, which he didn't really drop a lot of balls. They were high on Khalif Raymond. So they ranked us 7th.
Okay.
Who would you think is first?
49ers.
They were first.
Yeah.
I thought that the first would have been an easy answer, and I would have said the team which they actually ranked 2nd,
Bengals?
which is the Dolphins.
Oh, Dolphins. Yeah. Okay. Bengals too. Where was Bengals?
So, most of them, they have just 2 receivers. A couple of them, they have 3. So the 49ers were first. They listed Ayuk and Debo.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins were 2nd, Tyreek and Waddle. The 3rd place, they had Eagles, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith.
That's pretty good.
Then 4th, they actually put the Bears. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze.
Mm-hmm.
They look dangerous. They look like they can be dangerous. So I can see that. Now, Texans were 5th. They've got Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell.
Yeah.
And then the Vikings were 6th. Jets, Jordan Addison. I only put the teams that were in front of us. I don't know how much further the Bengals were, but I'm not very high on the Bengals.
Yeah. NFC North is stacked then. 3 of the top 7. We're 7, and there's 2 teams ahead of us. However, both of them have rookie quarterbacks too. That's going to definitely affect how those wide receivers go, but it's good for those rookie quarterbacks for sure to have that kind of wide receiver core.
Yeah, it works out for J.J. McCarthy if he gets a shot here.
Yeah.
The Bengals, they had them at number 9. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. T. Higgins didn't grade very well. And he's got the whole contract thing going on. When they're fighting for contracts, the players start playing really well for the contract year, but
certain players do. And if you listen to Dan Campbell, they don't want those players because they should be playing that hard all the time.
Yeah, right.
Their motivation, money's always a motivator, but is it the prime motivator?
No. Honestly, when I look at those receivers for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, I feel like money's the prime motivator for both of those guys. Did you see the clip of Jamar Chase at that fan event?
With Monroe jersey?
Yeah, he made him take off the Monroe jersey.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah.
Come on.
Do you think it was just Monroe jersey, or is it because he's another top one, or is it he wouldn't have taken any other jersey?
Yeah, I don't, but I mean,
if he had a T. Higgins jersey, would he tell the guy to go away with a T. Higgins
that's
jersey?
Bengals. You'd have to let him do that.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Amon-Ra, though, showing you up and getting paid and everything, I think he's a little salty about that.
Apparently, Amon-Ra made up to that guy. Did you see that? He's gonna hook that guy up.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, there was a report that Amon-Ra said, "I'll hook you up." So hopefully,
Nice.
I don't know what that ended up being. I'm sure it's like a signed jersey or whatever. So the next, another PFF thing, the players that are drafted in 2021, so that's the Penei Sewell class. From that class, the Lions have 3 of the top 8 players, which just shows how dominant Brad Holmes is at drafting. It's unbelievable. So Sewell's number 1 at 92.5. Parsons, who we talked about earlier, was number 2, 92.4. Nico Collins was actually the 3rd. I don't know if you saw that or not. 91.4, rated ahead of next Amon-Ra St. Brown at 91.2. That seems strange to me. They have Nico Collins rated above Amon-Ra, but maybe we're partial down here.
I don't know how they factor that, but you know what? Michigan, man, good for Nico.
Yeah, exactly. I like seeing him get love, but I'm more partial to Amon-Ra. But anyways, so Amon-Ra at number 4, then Javon Holland and Jalen Waddle, both Dolphins. The next 2, Greg Russo, and then number 8 is Aleem McNeil at 86.8. So 3 of the top 8 from in that draft class are Lions. So that it just tells you why the Lions they're setting themselves up for success. It's pretty awesome.
Now that's been like a huge problem for us in the past, is that we just couldn't hit on the draft. It's like, what are we doing? Are we not doing the research? Is everyone really a bust? Why are we not consistently getting good draft picks? So then for this to happen, when Brad Holmes takes over and now the draft, we're getting guys in 4th round that are playmakers and are actually contributing to the team. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's where you get the quick turnaround, and that's why there was no turnaround during the Quinn. One of the reasons why in the Quinn Patricia era, you're just not hitting on so many draft picks. I mean, Brad Holmes is hitting on more than his fair share of draft picks. Getting 3 in the top 8 is insane. But you can't expect that to happen every year for Brad Holmes, although in 3 years, wait till this last draft class is up there. It could be even more. It was really nice seeing this. It's just confirmation of what we're all seeing on the field is the Lions' homegrown players are balling out.
How far did they go on that list? Was it just a top 10, or like how far did they go on that ranking?
So,
because Iffy was also in 2021.
Yeah, Iffy's number 10, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
For me, I mean, we could have went out to 10 and said Iffy. However, that a lot of that was to me the last 6 games. So that projection was probably heavily biased for recency bias. Whereas the other 3 players on the list have shown it for all 3 years. Whereas Iffy he played all games last year, all 17 games last year, I do believe, but it was just the back end, the 6 and then the playoffs where he really shined. It's awesome to see him up on that list, but just
he took a big leap.
He did
last year, but he was ranked the 9th highest safety last year.
Yeah, I knew that, and if he'd have played all year at that level, he would have been way higher than 9th. I'm sure that it was because really, like I said, it was just in the regular season, it was the back 6 games. So that he really,
we're going to find out.
Well. Yeah. Leads us into
I guess that kind of goes into our,
yeah, exactly. It's a natural transition into our next topic. What will the Lions do at safety this year? What do you see them doing?
Obviously, they're going to have some rotational pieces in there, but I feel like by the time the season starts, I feel like the plan should be to have Iffy and Branch back there and have Kirby rotate in more. I think when you have Iffy and Branch, they've both proven coming off the edge, disguising blitzes, also dropping in coverage. They've proven really valuable. Whereas Kirby, I feel like, is much better in the passing game and maybe not so much with his blitzing ability. That's what I feel like maybe we should have, because if Iffy and Branch are both out there, you really don't know which way they're coming up. You're going to have to start sending Kirby more if that's the game plan. And not to say that he's not able to blitz, I just don't think he's really shown that so far as much as the other two. What are you thinking?
I think Kirby's going to be out there. He's a great center fielder, good ball skills out there, and he just has good instincts. But Branch, they're never going to take out that field. He's going to be out there in one of the safety positions or in the nickel position. I look at what happened when CJGJ comes back and they had that rotation of Iffy, Kirby, and CJGJ. That's going to be like the blueprint of what's going on.
Right.
Branch they only played him at nickel after a certain point last year. They just moved him to nickel only. I actually looked just to see where Branch had played, and they had played more snaps in the first two playoff games, but then in the 49ers game, what percentage of snaps do you think Branch played in that 49ers game?
80.
41% of the snaps that game.
Wow. Less than half.
Yeah.
Well, he was hurt, right?
I don't think it was that. It was more that they couldn't get him on the field in the right packages with the nickel. And I think they were loading up on the run, and they, for whatever reason, didn't put him out. They had more heavy linebacker sets, but he played less than 50% of those snaps. And then also last year they played in the playoffs, they played some 4 safety sets, but I think that was just because they didn't have enough corners. The corners they had weren't talented enough. And this year, hopefully it's going to go the other way, because you got a Meek that can go inside, Rakestraw they're training inside. So it'll be interesting because Branch will be playing in there too. But I like the idea of having Kirby, Branch, and Iffy out there, because you got Iffy and Branch that could come, and that's going to be really confusing for a defense.
Definitely. That's why I was saying I think that if you're putting 2 as starters, I think Iffy and Branch. But you're leaning more towards Kirby and Branch.
I think Kirby plays deeper, and like you had said before, Kirby's not going to be someone that's necessarily going to be what you're going to have a run stopper. But my feeling is that Branch is going to be out there either nickel or safety, depending on how it breaks down. But Branch he'll play that free floating safety where you're almost like a linebacker out there and you don't know where he's going to be on the field.
Moving him around.
And that's the thing. If you get him and Iffy out there together and they're moving around, you could set up some confusing defenses for the quarterback and for their offensive line of the opposing team. They're not going to know where the pressure is going to come from.
That's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Especially you send them sometimes, but then just the threat of them coming, then you drop them back in coverage and you hope that Hutch, Reader, Aleem, you hope somebody gets home.
That's also the thing is sometimes Aiden does that thing where he backs out into coverage and the pressure comes from somewhere else. And then, they don't expect that. And then he gets that pick because he's just in a lane. They know if they can anticipate where the hot read is, Aiden just steps in that lane and you're hoping that he takes it or does what he did Carolina, where he just reaches out and snags the screen pass. That was such an awesome interception.
Is that the one where he got flipped to his hips? Which game was that?
Yeah, that was a game where he was trying to score for a touchdown, and he got hit blindsided, and it was like a very scary moment.
I held my breath for a second.
Yeah, that was a game I was there, and you're texting me, what's Aiden doing? And my wife had eyes with the binoculars on the sideline. Okay, he doesn't have his helmet, but he's running. So that's good. He's just stretching out. And then Sarah told me he's got his helmet. So I text you back. I'm like, he's got his helmet, so he's coming back down. Yeah. It was such a relief when he had his helmet in his hand.
Helps have an inside source.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also, with the safety thing, Lions like to play matchups too and move people around. They could have weeks where it's going to be, like you said, Iffy and Branch out there. You might have other weeks where Kirby's out there more. If everybody's healthy, I think it also might just depend on the team they're playing and what they need to stop. All right, man. So next question that we have is, based on everything that we saw and we talked about, who do you think is going to have a breakout year for the Lions this year? Who do you anticipate? Before we hit training camp, who's your guy?
I'm going to throw you a curveball here.
All right.
I'm looking at the roster. I'm trying to think of a bold prediction to make, because you have some obvious people, but then there's also, is it really considered a breakout year if they've already been showing different things? My guess for a breakout year is going to be Khalif Raymond.
All right. I like it.
You can't hide Laporta anymore. Teams know he's there. They know who Amon-Ra is. They know how dangerous he is. And J-Mo also has the speed. They're got eyes on him. And if Khalif is the other one out there, I think he was going to be able to find some holes and do some damage. We already talked about Pro Football Focus rated him high, running his routes and everything like that. He got a decent number of targets, but we already talked about with Reynolds being gone, who's going to step up. I think that if he holds off DPJ and is week 1, he's the one starting, getting the majority of the snaps back there, I think that he's actually going to be able to do a lot with it. So my bold prediction here, I'm going to say that Khalif gets 50 catches. I'm going to say 800 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Wow. Man.
And you can save this time right here.
No, it's all right. I like it. I always like Khalif. I think that he's a very hard worker. Just he doesn't have the necessary skill set that Amon-Ra has, but he'll get more time on the field now with Josh Reynolds not out there, hopefully. So I like it. I like your pick a lot. I was struggling with this question. For me, the obvious answer is J-Mo. I think that he's going to have a great year this year. And I know that's not like a bold pick like you picked, but the way he came on the back end of the year, started to connect with Jared Goff. It seemed like a little bit more. And with Josh Reynolds gone, I think J-Mo's going to have it this year. I think you're going to see some fireworks with him and Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff will know to throw it up. I'm just hoping that J-Mo ball tracking skills are a little more refined and that he can come down with, because if we can just give the threat of going deep, let's just move those safeties back and make our running game even more dangerous, especially with the number 1 offensive line, as we mentioned earlier. So I'm expecting J-Mo to have a big year, so I'm hoping it. So both of us are picking wide receivers, just 2 different ones. So
no, that's 100% though. What we saw with J-Mo last year in the 49ers game, especially having the full offseason, everything like that, he already showed some flashes in OTAs, tracking the deep ball and stuff like that. You hope the improvements there. You hope finally having a full season. Yeah, definitely. I'm on board with that one too. I just felt like that was an easy answer.
Yeah.
I know how much you like the easy answers.
I go with easy. We're out, man. I was on vacation. You had mentioned the play in the 49ers where they had the huge reverse where he takes it for a touchdown. Same thing in the Saints game. Right? I anticipate some wrinkles on that reverse this year. I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to have him take the primary reverse and Gibbs running the other way or Khalif running the other way. All the attention. It just seems, hey, they ran it twice, pretty successful. I'm not saying they won't run it with J-Mo, they will, but I expect Ben Johnson to play the next level of, we're going to get the defense over pursue one way and just shock him and go back the other way. Or they could even do that, flip back to Jared Goff, and they did that. I can't remember if that was the Carolina game. Laporta was just wide open. They threw that. Yeah. And then the 49ers basically ran that same exact play later on that same day, which was very interesting. So the NFL scriptwriters got screwed up and just wrote the same play for 2 different teams. Screwed it all up.
Yeah,
man.
Identical. Sweet play, though.
Yeah. Another thing, this is a cheap answer for the breakout season, but I expect Aiden to have a really good season. And I don't know. It's hard. It's like saying Amon-Ra is going to have a breakout season, even if they do better. I wouldn't consider what Aiden gets unless he were to break the sack record or something like that. Not that I expect that, but that would be considered a breakout season. But I expect Aiden to have a really strong statistical season. He's had a lot of the QB pressures, were second in the league, but he just couldn't transform all that into sacks. And hopefully with Aleem and DJ Reader up the middle, and hopefully if Marcus Davenport can play good on the other side, you can see an uptick in Aleem's edge stats that you look at edge rushers, QB pressures, sacks.
He's also fighting off 2 people, and he's taking the long way around trying to get to the quarterback. He's just relentless going after the quarterback. I think that's why he's leading in pressures, or doing so well in pressures. But yeah, if they can't double him every time, they can't have someone there to chip him every time. That's what we're hoping, is that he takes a leap. Like you said, it's hard to call it a breakout season because we expect him to have a good year. Yeah. And having DJ Reader and everything, now we hope that he takes it even further than he did before.
Yep. So I expect his sack totals to go up this year. So it'll be interesting. Anything you want to add on that?
No, real quick, just to touch on before what we talked about, because I was curious about the Brian Branch, because you said he played 41% of the snaps.
Yep.
So he actually was the highest rated defender for that game.
Yeah.
He had a 77 rating, which was actually highest. Branch, then Aleem, then Anzalone. And the lowest graded defender was actually CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that personal foul that he took is grades. I don't know if they take into that account in their grades, but yeah, that's why you got to have Branch on the field. You get your highest graded defender sitting on the bench for over half the plays. So
Right.
that doesn't make
Right.
sense. I get it.
I still feel like that has to be something to do with the injury. Or if he's playing 60% of the snaps, you've got, who else? Kirby played 82% of the snaps. CJ played 50. You're telling me you couldn't fit Branch in there somewhere? I don't know if it is a coverage thing. Maybe. I feel like it has to be some sort of, he just wasn't 100%.
Yeah. All right. Then our next topic is, we're going to just touch on this briefly, is NFL lawsuit. NFL lost a sizable lawsuit, $4.7 billion in damages, and then another, that wasn't enough. So then they lost another $96 million to the commercial class, like the bars and things, over the NFL Sunday ticket pricing. Did you have any thoughts on that at all?
I feel like everyone knew the whole time that you're overpaying. Nobody knew, like, it wasn't a secret that we're all getting ripped off. I only got Sunday ticket, I think, 1 or 2 years. And it was just, this isn't worth it. If I'm getting the game to try to watch the Lions, these games are getting blacked out anyway. I'm watching them on local. And now, because that was years ago, but now you have, even if you buy Sunday ticket, how many games? They've got Amazon games every Thursday. They've got games on Netflix this year. They've got Peacock and Paramount and all these other things. So even the people that bought Sunday ticket like the last year or two still weren't able to see all the games.
Yeah.
And you're paying an astronomical amount. It's way overinflated.
Yep.
So it's not surprising to me at all that it came down the way that it did. I saw something, though. They said where it stands right now, I know the NFL is appealing, but where it stands right now, each team would be on the hook for $440 million in damages.
I saw that. That's like a ridiculous amount of money. But to be honest with you, over that time period, the value of their teams have went way above that. So most of those owners, if you've owned your team for that amount of time, $500 million is a lot of money to lose. But they've gained a lot of money over the past decade or so in just team value. But so the reason why this case was brought up is because football has, and all major sports have, what's called an antitrust exemption, which basically the leagues are allowed to negotiate broadcast rights as a whole, as opposed to each individual team doing their broadcast rights. It's supposed to even out the playing field. You share that revenue evenly among all the teams, because you would expect, let's say, the Dallas Cowboys to make more money than the Arizona Cardinals, or a team that's not as popular. But what the plaintiff said is, okay, that works for free TV, but we're talking about for pay TV, it should be different. I shouldn't have to pay for basically all these teams when I only want to see the Lions. Right. I know our listeners, we got people just based on the downloads, are listening all over the country, and some people are out of the country that are listening to us. So there's some people that are very interested in this, because I'm sure they had the Sunday ticket and they paid a large amount to watch the Lions play. So it'll be interesting to see, because it's going to go to appeal. So it's going to be a long time before this gets fully decided. But this is going to affect streaming rights, has a possibility of affecting the Amazon rate, because that's a pay TV program. You have to pay for Amazon Prime to get that. The Netflix, it could affect that too in the future, because Netflix has Christmas Day games this year, which they paid a lot of money for. So it'll be interesting, because I think that this lawsuit could affect all those streaming services too. I don't think it's just they're going to pay this $450 million and then each team or whatever, and then it's going to be done. There's a lot of more implications past just this lawsuit. Not just the Sunday ticket, but I think it affects just general streaming rights too.
And where do we go moving forward? Are you going to be able to buy just a package with just your team? Are you going to be able, is it going to be like a pay-per-view game kind of system where you got to pay for each game that you want to see?
Yeah.
Are they going to just incorporate that with NFL Plus?
I know there's a lot of different things, but I mean, if you've listened to the case at all, ESPN had a plan. They wanted to add it to ESPN Plus or whatever, the Sunday ticket, and they were willing to sell it for like less than $100 for the package. But the NFL didn't choose that, partly because CBS and Fox says it devalued their product, because they're paying the NFL billions of dollars for the rights to show the games on Sundays. So there's a lot that went into this case, but it's going to be interesting, because it definitely will change the Sunday ticket for sure. And
Right.
you might be able to just get the team that you want, as opposed to buying a bunch of games that you mostly don't have interest in.
For sure.
All right, that's enough for that. We're off lawsuits and bumming stuff. Let's go into the fun stuff. Let's go into the Honolulu Blitz.
It's time for the Honolulu Blitz.
All right, Jacob, I get to ask you questions first this time. Are you ready?
All right. I'm ready.
All right. What is the Lions' longest winning streak since 2000?
The longest winning streak since 2000.
Yeah. How many games?
I don't feel like it was very long. I'll say 4.
9. It's actually 9 games.
9.
It's
What year was that?
So 2010, 2011, they won the last 4 games in 10, and then they won the first 5 games in 11. That 5th game was the Bears Monday night game. Remember when it was going crazy? We ended up being 5-0. So that was, it's across 2 seasons.
It's a trick question. It's 2 seasons. I was trying to think, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing.
So I didn't include the longest winning streak. I just said since 2000, but the longest winning streak is actually 10 games, and it was 1934. So way back in 1934. I didn't play the trick question on you on that time.
Yeah.
But all right, ready for the next one?
Let's go.
How many seasons have the Lions made the playoffs in their history? So 90 seasons. How many have they made the playoffs?
So this is pre-Super Bowl and everything too.
Yeah, just everything. 9 in their 90 seasons.
7.
Just 7 times out of 90?
Sure.
18, actually. So about 1 every 5 years we average to get to the playoffs. I saw that number and I was like,
That was obviously a shot in the dark.
yeah, no, I hadn't even thought about that. I just saw this trivia question somewhere. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I still think 18 is disappointing. Your 7 is much more
How many years in the Super Bowl era? You have that or not?
Since 1967, we are 1-11 in postseason play. But that must be before last year.
That's including all games? Or,
Yeah,
okay.
so that was before last year. So 12, and 2 of them would have been, 2 of them would have been in the same season, 91, but the rest of them, so that's 12. So we would have made it 11 times. So including last year would have been 12. Yeah, crazy.
More than I thought.
Yeah. Still disappointing, though.
How many of those did we win?
Yeah. Not enough. All right. It's a opinion question here for you. Will Aiden have over or under 13.5 sacks this year?
I'm going to be positive. I'm going to say over.
Yeah. I'm guessing 15. That's what I think he's going to
for
get.
the best.
Yep. All right. What is your favorite win in the Dan Campbell era? So since he's been the head coach, what's your favorite win that we've got?
I'm going to say the first one. The win against the Vikings when Monroe caught the ball in the end zone like that.
Yeah.
The season was going terribly and everything, but it just finally, I don't know, a breath of fresh air, it felt like.
Yeah. It finally got.
Obviously, there's been more important, more meaningful, more iconic ones, but I guess that one was a good one.
Yeah. That's good. All right. What movie have you not seen that everyone's seen that you're embarrassed to admit that you haven't seen?
I haven't seen.
Yeah.
So like a really popular movie.
Yeah,
that I have not
popular
seen.
movie that everybody's seen that people talk about, but you've never seen.
Oh man, that's tough because I can't even. If I want to see a movie, I'll see it. There's got to be some iconic like best picture movie that I'm just not thinking of.
It doesn't have to be a newer movie. It could be an older movie. Something I would make fun of you for, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I really can't think of one.
I stumped you.
You did, but you know what? The first thing that came to mind is not even a movie, but the show. There's a TV show that everyone talks about.
Yeah.
Is Game of Thrones.
Okay.
And I have not seen Game of Thrones. I don't watch Game of Thrones. I watched an episode of that with my mom, and it was like towards the end of it. And it was like, I don't even remember why I was over there, but it was like she was watching Game of Thrones. I saw like the last half of it, and I was like, that was actually pretty cool. So then I watched the first episode of the first season. I was like, this is terrible. I can't watch this. And that's all I hear is positive things, and they're remaking the new show now and everything. Not my thing.
Not your thing. All right, man. That's good. I'll accept that. That's very popular, and you missed that.
Yeah, you did stump me because I can't think of the movie. I'm sure there's plenty, but nothing jumped out of me.
All right, man. I'm
all
up.
right. You ready?
Yep.
Some of these are easy, but that's okay. I got an opinion one mixed in here too.
All right.
Okay. What number overall was Barry Sanders drafted?
He was 2 or 3. 2.
He was number 3.
3. Shoot. It was.
Do you know the players that were drafted?
I know Troy Aikman was drafted ahead of him, and Deion Sanders was drafted behind him. Who? Derek Thomas?
It was the Packers.
Tony Mandarich, right?
Yeah.
Todd Mandarich.
He went number 2. Tony.
Tony, that's right. Okay. Yep. All right.
What current Lion wears number 3?
Yeah. Nah, you got me. Who's that?
Special teams.
I still don't know.
It's the punter, Jack Fox.
Jack Fox. Pro Bowler Jack Fox. All right.
I was looking at different numbers, and Barry Sanders was drafted number 3, so I was like, okay, what Lion wears number 3? And I probably wouldn't have known that either.
Yeah.
I had to look. Who was the last Lion to win the Associated Press Rookie of the Year?
I know Stafford didn't win it because he got injured his rookie year. Calvin, isn't it?
It was actually Ndamukong Suh.
Ooh. Yes. Defensive player. Yeah.
Aiden won, I think it was like the Pepsi Rookie of the Year or something like that. But the Associated Press, the last time we won was Suh.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
All right. What quarterback led the league in passing yards last year?
Tua.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't gonna.
600.
Yeah. How much was it?
4,624.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Goff was second with 4,575.
Yeah. Breeze and them were throwing 5,000 yards when there was 16 games in a season, and we're up to 17.
Right.
Kevin hit the 5,000, but yeah. All right. Yep. All right. Good. I felt good about that.
Last question. All right. Besides Graham Glasgow, who is your celebrity crush?
This is a celebrity crush. Does it have to be a football player or anybody?
No, anybody.
Oh, Eminem.
Preferably a woman, I would think.
Oh, my celebrity crush. Like, you said Graham. Okay, so celebrity crush.
You talked about big, strong men.
I did. I'm confused about the celebrity crush. Wow. My wife listens to this, so let me be careful. I always say this. It's not Taylor Swift, I'll tell you that. It's definitely not Taylor Swift.
He's on the spot here. He's scrambling.
I know. I really...
He can't say the first thing that popped in his mind.
No, exactly.
Sarah wouldn't like that.
No. Who I used to like was Kirsten Dunst. I liked the Spider-Man movies. Yeah, I think... But now those movies are creepy. Like, they have her in the rain, and it's creepy.
It's weird now.
Yeah, it is.
They're still a nostalgic Spider-Man thing.
Scarlett Johansson's pretty cool. So I could take her. Yeah. All right, man. That's good. So
all right,
I'm back from vacation. We actually worked together this week. Are you super excited about that?
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yep, that's right. It's going to be finally get some work done when there. I'm probably hear about how you didn't do anything last week, and everyone's happy to have me back.
Yep. Fun time's over. Jason's back.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. No.
Get ready to be annoyed at work.
Yeah. That's probably because we'll be talking about different things, sports, I guess. Yeah. But downtime for football, so people might be able to stand around us, and Tigers aren't giving us too much to talk about. Some exciting stuff here and there, but still, I'm going to say a disappointing season after starting 5-0.
But yeah. Now we've got Pistons and Red Wings off seasons.
Yeah, Pistons signed a big player, right? I don't follow them that much, but I saw that they signed a free agent.
So we signed Tobias Harris, who actually used to play in Detroit. So he's coming back. It was a decent pickup. We need a veteran player, but...
And they traded for Tim Hardaway, correct?
Correct. Yep. Draft picks. That's cool. Michigan man back.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I mean, these are good vets, but I don't know how much it's going to help the team. We'll see. We got another coach that just got fired.
Yeah, I know.
Historically, we don't do very well with that, and we just keep doing it over and over again. So
exactly. We'll
see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, man. Hope you guys enjoyed this uplifting podcast as opposed to last week. Everyone have a good week, and we'll be back on here again next week. All right. Go Lions.